You want to grow, scale, thrive in 2025? The answer is simple. It's called group economics. I got a lot I want to share with this concept because honestly, for us as minorities, it is where we are most lacking. So, what we would be wise to consider, and I'm going to say a couple of cliche statements, but they really matter. Team, together everyone achieves more, is 1,000% one of the most unknown secrets as it pertains to wealth generation. And so, what I need to remind you of is the cliche statement, right? Which is if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Why do you think the good book tells us, right, that two are greater than one? What the good book tells us throughout the New Testament and the Old Testament, right, is that Jesus always sent the disciples out in pair for one critical reason, is because he understood that when one grows weary, the other is strong. When one is frustrated, the other is motivated. The good book tells us what? One can put 1,000 to flight. What? Two can put 10,000 to flight. What that means is whenever you operate in a group, specifically even in a pair as it relates to this conversation, you are 10 times more powerful. And yet in business, we as minorities generally do that exceptionally poor. I don't mean from a monetary standpoint, but meaning we typically don't play together well. Now, I want to say this. I understand that that is mostly a systemic reality. If you know anything about our country's history, that was engineered to be that way. However, I can't focus on the past. I can only live in the present. I can only press towards the future. So what that means is we as a group, we as a community would be wise to understand what most other nationalities and races understand. Is that it's called a race for a reason. What do you do in a race? You run faster. The car drives faster. What? When you drift, meaning when you work as a team. Why? Because it's easier for both of us to win and pick up speed. And so what happens often is a crab in a barrel mentality is something that our community unfortunately has been oppressed by. But at the same point, and I know that even firsthand in some of my most recent business experiences in the last 5 years, but I won't go into that, is that again, I'm not going to focus on the problem. We're going to focus on the solution. So I want to really put us on game is that as it pertains to economic success, it best happens when we understand that it is a race. It is a race towards resources, opportunity, momentum. And that is best done as a collective, as a community through group economics. Why? Because ultimately I pull together my resources. You pull together your resources. We can get a lot more done. And yet, beyond systemic reasons, let's really talk about the elephant in the room as to why we as a group have been most negatively impacted by this reality. And largely it's because we do something to ourselves, which is we got a hustle, get rich quick mentality. Like you look at cryptocurrency, over 80% of all cryptocurrency losses have occurred to the Black and brown community. Why? Because we think we can get rich quick. And the truth of it is the good book even dealt with that. The good book says money gained overnight is gone by the morning. I'm going to say that again. Money gained overnight is gone by the morning. Why do you think over 90% of all athletes and lottery winners and entertainers 5 years after their windfall gain are dead broke? It's because they didn't gain the mentality, the methodology, right? The principles, the process to wealth. And it's this. It takes 5 years to figure it out, 10 years to get good, 20 years to get rich. But what happens when we do business together? I know this firsthand. We have a get rich quick scheme, mindset, which as soon as we don't reap the reward or the returns we want in 12 or 24 months, oh boy, we is cutting up in the worst way. Yet again, another thing we do as a group, as a community, is what the Jewish community understands about life and business is a critical lesson that whenever they have ventures that are struggling financially, they invest more. What do black and brown people do? Let it not go right the first 12, 24 months, even 36 months. They want a refund. They want their money back. They don't want to invest anymore. Okay, let's take products and services that you are familiar with that you're probably a fan of. Let's start with Nike. Did you know that Phil Knight, the founder of Nike, for 22 years had to go back to the same group of investors after having lost money for 22 straight years, and for 22 straight years, every year he had to go back and ask for more money. And yet, if most of you hearing this or watching this look around, I'm pretty certain you got something Nike on your persons or somewhere within your vicinity. That happened from 22 years of losses on an annualized basis, with investors having to continually stroke new checks for it to become the reality that it is now. And yet, when we don't get what we want in 22 days, 22 weeks, 22 months, boy, we is cutting up in the worst way. We talking about them, they babies, they mama, they aunties, they uncles, because we got the wrong mentality, the wrong mindset. Wealth is not gained overnight. It takes 5 years to figure it out, 10 years to get good, 20 years to get rich, or 20 years to be great. Let's use another example, Tesla. We're proud owners of 4 or 5 Teslas. Here's the thing. Tesla for 19 years lost money. Tesla not until 2 years ago broke a profit or made a profit. And here's the interesting thing. Now, only as of 2024, the Tesla Model Y has become the U.S. #1 selling vehicle, surpassing the Toyota Corolla. Took them 19 years of losing money, though, to make that a reality. All right, let's use another example. Uber, the Uber startup, great startup. Just recently made over $80 billion in revenue. And that was like in 9 months. So they probably made $100 billion in revenue. But here's what you don't know. They lost money for 15 straight years. They didn't turn a profit till a few years ago. They lost money, let me say this again, for 15 straight years. And guess what? In order for that 15-year loss to be made possible, where only now in the last few years are they making a profit, guess what? They lost $38 billion to get to a point where it could break even and be profitable. But yet again, how is all of that possible with Nike, Uber, Tesla? Is because what my white brothers and sisters understand is that through group economics, through patience, through persistence, through 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, we're going to figure it out. Failure ain't an option. And guess what? We're going to double down, triple down, 22 time down for Nike, 15 years time down for Uber. What? 19 years for Tesla. They doubled down. It's not a mystery why they are successful now. Why? Because group economics helps them to understand that an amateur hates the process but loves the profit. An expert loves the process and will soon enough make a profit. But it takes work. It takes patience. It's not get rich quick overnight. And so what I beg of you, what I implore all of you to understand is that the secret to unlocking wealth happens through group economics. It happens through community. It happens through a team, right? It happens understanding that the race has to be, we as a race are on a team, because that's what everybody else understands, right? Is that we have to race together for resources. And guess what? Whenever we're involved in ventures, we got to have a 5, 10, 20-year mindset. We got to double down, triple down, even if it means 15 years, 19 years, 22 years, to continue to invest greater sums of money. Why? Because that is the process and journey of business in a modern day and age. And so as the founder of Developer Nation, I want you to click the link in the bio for Developer Nation and register to learn of our announcement when we launch. If you are called to real estate and you have a vision to do small scale real estate, large scale real estate, we are here to work with you as a community practicing group economics, where we will educate you, we will equip you, and we will give you exposure to our capital vendor partners, ranging from family office to high net worth, private equity, and hedge fund, in order to help you build generational wealth that is absolute and certain with enough time and patience as it relates to real estate. Because at the end of the day, God only made so much land and he ain't making any more of it. And yet underdevelopment needs across residential and commercial are evident and are present for the next 30 to 50 years and beyond. And it is one of the few and only industries to which AI will not be able to disrupt it in the near term. So again, click in the link in the bio to DeveloperNationApp.com. And as always, I want to remind you to like, comment, subscribe, follow, as it helps the algorithm. And as always, all things work together for our good because we love God and we are called according to his purpose. I will see you in the next episode.